Okay, so here's how the brain processes any type of information coming in, any sensation, and emotions are the same way, and emotions come out of all of this. So, like, you don't just get mad for no reason. Like, you don't get sad for no reason. There had to have been a stimulus, right? But there had to have been something that happened. You had to have had a situation. You had to have had someone walk in you didn't like, whatever. There had to have been some type of stimulus that happened around you, and your body processed that as anger or fear or sadness or regret or whatever, right? Like, the emotions aren't the first step that happens. It's not like they get mad. You're like, oh my gosh, like, you have an anger thing. No, there's something else coming up that's causing that to happen inside their brain. So here's how it happs. So if I come up to Desiree, and she's doing this awesome job, translating, and she keeps going, and I tap her on the left arm, right? She doesn't do anything. She keeps translating, right? Now here's how her brain processes this stimulation, because I just pat her on the arm, right? When I touch her arm right here, that signal, there's nerve endings in the inside of the skin. Now watch this. I don't even want you to write this down. I want you to get how amazing your brain is, but how constantly it is processing all of the stimulation you come in contact with. From the lights in here, from Jody like smacking people with nitros, to like Desiree up here doing this like awesome like rock star job, like with the wave and stuff. Do the wave again. See? Awesome. And so, like all of the stimulation, you guys are all processing this and you have an emotional response. Like you laugh. That's an emotional response to a stimulus that you just saw. You see? So when I touch her arm, her left arm, that nerve in the side of her arm right here goes up to the opposite side of her brain and goes to the precentral gyrus in her frontal cortex, right? You listen? Precentral gyrus in the frontal cortex to literally tell her body and her brain where it is. So that if I tap her left arm, she doesn't go, oh, why did he touch my right foot? Does that make sense? Like if that signal doesn't work, then even if you get a stimulation here, she feels it somewhere else because it'll get all messed up and those signals get mixed. So right there at the very front, that front part of the brain, it literally just tells her where the sensation happened. Left arm, left arm. Now, once that sensation hits the precentral gyrus, it goes back to this back part of the brain called Wernicke's area, okay? Wernicke's area quantifies what type of sensation it was, okay? So for Desiree, she felt me, right? It was touch. She felt me touch her left arm. Now, check this out. That sensation and the way that the body analyzes it is the exact same if I yelled something at her from here, or if I said something to her, like when I said, hey, what's your name? Awesome translator chick. And she goes, Desiree. And she turned left, right? She had to react to the sensation, and she had to turn, and she reacted to what I said to her based on a stimulation, but it went through the same pathway. So, front of the brain, precentral gyrus to tell her where I am, where the sensation was. Then it goes back to Wernicke's area. Did she see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, touch it? Okay? After it goes there, now it goes into this whole system right here called the limbic system. The limbic system's whole job is two things. One, are we safe or not? And two, I don't want to forget the things that I'm not safe about. So here's the first thing, like, am I safe or not? When that signal goes to the limbic system, and I'm sitting here with Desiree, it goes to the limbic system, I tapped her arm, and her limbic system goes, did that feel good or did it not? Did it hurt? Was it pleasure? Was it pain? Are we safe? Are we not? And her brain is sitting here as she's translating it out. She's translating her own thoughts, which is probably weird for her right now, but it's good. Her brain's going, well, it didn't really hurt and it didn't feel good. He's weird, but I don't think we're in danger. But no, we're good. And as long as her brain says, hey, we're safe, she doesn't do anything. She keeps translating. See? And she stays where she's at, and she keeps doing it. And I can sit here and do this, and it's totally fine, and she doesn't break stride. See what I'm saying? She's making fun of me. What did she say? She's ad-libbing, no ad-libbing. I did it. Now watch. Let me show you how a negative stimulus works, right? Now, and now watch this with kids. She freaked out? Yeah. I gotta get closer, right? You can't run away though. No, I'm kidding, I won't hurt you. I don't know. So a negative stimulus, if I rolled up to Desiree and I punched her in the arm, right? Instead of just tapping her arm, I haul off and hit her as hard as I could. It's the exact same pathway, exact same thing in the brain, exact same travel as it was if I just tapped her, right? It goes to the precentral gyrus, it goes left arm, goes to the back of the brain to Wernicke's area, and it says that she felt me hit her in the arm. Then it goes forward to the limbic system, but this time it changes. Like this time in the limbic system, instead of her brain going, or no, we're good. Like instead of her brain saying that, her brain goes, what? And her brain freaks out. It goes, that hurts. And now that last step, for her to actually defend herself, now she goes into what we call fight or flight. And you guys are familiar with this. When you get stressed out and your body goes, oh my gosh, something is wrong, whether it's traffic, brake lights coming up ahead, your order at the restaurant coming out cold, no matter what it is, when your brain goes, this is wrong, you go into fight or flight, and you're either going to fight off whatever is stressing you out. So in that situation, she would either verbally go, what is your problem? Or she'd hit me back. She would go, you know, and she'd smack me. Or, how do you do that? Shapa. There you go, boom, like that. Or she's gonna run away. She's gonna like cry and run off stage, and she's gonna run from the negative stimulus. Do you see how that works? Now, emotions, what you say, places you go, all of these things work the exact same way in the brain because your brain has to process them to tell you whether you're in a safe place or not. Like when you walked in the building, you walked into this church, you go, oh look, they got cool colors, they got purple, I like that, it smells like oils in here, I think I'm in the right place, this is great. But some of you guys have social anxiety. I know you do, because statistically about 20 to 30% of the room, you can barely stand being in here right now because there's so many people. But the only reason you got in here is because you went in and everything was safe. You're like, safe, 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 safe. Okay, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, all the way to your chair. But because there's so much stimulus, your brain still has to process all that, okay? Now, let's talk about this big word for a second, neuroplasticity. Okay, so with kids, let's take Tate, for example. Like, he was adopted at birth. We were blessed to be at his birth. Like, literally, when we got the email that he was going to be coming up for adoption, like the mom was still pregnant, on Monday, we called the Crisis Pregnancy Center back on Tuesday. She went into labor on Wednesday, had him by Thursday. We signed papers on Saturday. Yeah, it was like, I mean, how many people know that when the Lord's ready to change your direction, it's like that? It's like, boom, right? And so literally, like, you're running one way, and then your leg breaks, and now you're rolling that way. Or, I mean, like, there's so many things that happen, and you got to be ready. But that's emotional and stressful. So we're in the ICU. He was in the NICU for like 10 days because he was early, right? And remember, the last time he was born in the exact same hospital. Watch this, exact same hospital where we birthed Evans and where he passed away. On the exact same hallway, 2 doors down from where Evans was delivered, half the same nursing staff, same NICU doctor, same waiting room, same everything. So our kids come in, and I'm going to show you how this works with kids. And if you think that they're not processing everything and they're not like sponging it up, you're wrong, and you're just missing it, okay? Now, how they react, like Ellie always reacts to emotion, like laughing and funny, like everything's a joke, and everything's really funny, and she like is always, everything's a game, and all these things, even then. But it almost takes those people longer. Like, it's taken her years, like, her processing through, and she talks about Evans all the time, and we talk about him and where he is now and what heaven might be like and all these things for her to process through, because she'll go through and she'll get really like kind of solemn, and so we'll start asking her about it. Well, Harper is the other. Like, he's very linear, he's very literal, he's very like, okay, you know, black and white, this is good, that's bad. And when we were in the hospital with Evans and we brought them in so that they could meet him, before we had to give him back, and when we were in that room, Harper just goes, shh, and he just completely shut down emotionally. He was our like just outgoing, like really take charge kid, and for about 7 months after that, he was a rageaholic. Like when we were at convention, I mean, there were times like, and that was a couple weeks after, that he would just go into rage fits, and I would just pin him and hold him, and just let him scream and cry for hours. Because they have to do something to get the emotion out, because they can't sit here and talk about it. Like, they can't process well. It's a totally different thing. Like, if this whole front row over here, if there was something stressful that happened here, I could come down there and we could talk about it, right? I could be like, hey, what did you see? Hey, how do you feel about that? Like, what's going on? Like, what's going on in your brain? Like, how are you doing right now? You know what I'm saying? With kids, they don't see it that way. That's why you have to walk out emotion with kids in life general. But using the oils, you can stimulate those pathways to help reduce stress for them, so that they have an easier time processing, easier time telling you, and walking through all these different things in life that life's just going to throw at you. So the neuroplasticity, what this means is that when the brain fires a certain way, it will keep firing that way and make thicker, bigger nerves to that area of the brain until you give it a new pathway, right? It's like coming to California. There's 2 main ways to get here, right? We could have gone I-10 all the way up through Phoenix, but we chose to go I-8 all the way down into San Diego, and we went south, right? There's 2 ways to get here. Well, in the brain, the bigger highway, if you want to call it that, gets the most signaling. It gets the most love. So let's say, like back then when we were in the hospital the first time. Now granted, remember, exact hospital, exact hallway, exact waiting room, everything. And I'm going to show you how this works. There's neurology being laid down immediately. Like when I was showing the example with Desiree on her arm, the minute that I'm touching her arm, she's creating nerve pathways, and it's creating like her brain's image of this weird guy in the wheelchair up next to her, tapping her arm, and all this stuff. Well, the longer that goes on, and the longer I'm sitting here talking, or the longer I keep tapping her arm, the bigger, thicker, and faster the nerve route to that memory and that thought gets. So just like coming here from San Diego, I-5 is huge, right? Like 5 lanes across. More people take that than a little bitty side road. You understand? Because it's easier, unless there's like a gazillion people on it. Kind of like the brain. But the big freeways get the most people. That's how the brain works, because there's this fatty layer around the outside. Each one of these, like this right here is called an axon. This is a nerve, is what graphic showing you what a nerve looks like. So that's the nucleus in the middle. All these little spider legs are called dendrites. And so when that comes off, there's this fatty covering around the outside of it called myelin. All right, now, nerves are different than blood vessels. Blood vessels are like water hoses, right? Like water hose, water goes through the vessel or goes through the water hose and it comes out the other end, like if you're gonna water your plants. Well, that's how blood vessels work. Blood just flows through them like a water hose. Your heart pumps it, it gets to wherever it needs to go, and then it gets pumped back. Nerves aren't like that. Nerves are like electrical wires. You know, electrical wires have insulation around the outside, because if that insulation gets scratched off, you get shorts, and it starts shorting out, and you don't get good signal. Well, the nerves are the same way. That myelin, that fat, you're going to hear more about fat later on today, but that fatty layering around the outside of the nerves is what determines how fast that signal can get down the nerve, because a signal down the nerve pathway and down a neurological pathway jumps on it. It does not go through it, okay? So it literally runs down the nerve like a highway, like literally like that. So the longer a negative stressor is there or the longer a good stressor is there, the bigger and the faster that nerve gets. And so one of the things you have to remember with emotion, with you or with kids or anything, neurology takes time to build. But neurology takes a while to be able to reset. So you gotta be patient with it. You gotta be more patient with emotional healing than you do with physical. And like perfect example, this leg, you know, like I had when it broke the leg so bad, I thought I was gonna have to have a knee replacement, but a doctor in Fort Worth was able to rebuild it with what they call an allograft procedure, where it's like a cadaver bone. I have half my knee is a cadaver bone and half my knee is regular, right? And so the healing on this is totally different though. Healing for a knee replacement, you're walking on it the next day, you got healing, but you're like moving right away. With this, I have no weight on it for 6 months, so I'm in a wheelchair for another couple months, month and a half or so, no weight on it at all. There's a set time on physical healing, right? Like physical healing, like you say, okay, 6-8 months, you're gonna be good, a year, you're gonna be good. Hey, you sprained an ankle, 8 to 12 weeks, you're gonna be good to go. You understand what I'm saying? There's a specific way that happens. Now, obviously, if you're healthier, it happens quicker, but physical healing, there's time periods on it. Emotional healing doesn't work like that. When I broke this leg, the amount of actual anxiety and emotional stress I had from that was huge. It was the thing that was like the Pandora's box I wasn't ready for. Like, I'm not an anxious person. I've never had a problem with that. I've never been a nervous person. Like, I don't have that's never been a part of my reality until this. And once that leg broke, it was like it broke the glass house of what reality was for me. And you'll see this with kids. Once something epic emotionally happens, it will shatter normal for them. And then I didn't know if we were safe at all after that. Like, we would go to a kid's playground, and I'd get myself on the side of my wheelchair, and I would have panic attacks watching my kids play on slides they'd played on forever, because I'm sitting here going, like, this new reality made my new reality. I'm sitting there like, they're gonna fall down and break their neck. Like, they're gonna fall off and they're gonna snap their arm and they're gonna break a leg. I just can't. And I would literally have to go get in the car because I couldn't watch it. I'd be like, like freaking out at the playground, okay? So the emotional time period on that can be really quick, or it can take a long, long time. And then there's other things that can trigger it and bring it back up. And so with kids, that's super, super true. Okay, so let's talk about how essential oils affect this. All right, so that negative emotion, like let's take, the kids in the hospital the first time. Well, to reset that, there's a couple different ways you can do it. A, you're gonna have to go back through that same process again, almost as similar or as exact as you did before, to give the brain a new look at that area so it can create a new